YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching me from. Hi, hey, it's Lottie. Welcome to the world according to Lottie. Wow, weeks flown by. For those of you in the UK, know it's our bank holiday. So this week's topic is going to be, it's my first, not advice video, I hate telling people what to do, so sharing wisdom and experience, I'm going to call it. And, you know, for anyone who wants to start music journalism, or any of those who've been doing it for a while and they want to find out how different people do it, or if you don't do music journalism, don't want to start music journalism but want to see how we do things, this is what it's mainly for. About interviews, particularly where I've been writing for Metal Temple. I've been offered quite a few over the past year or so, writing for Metal Temple, some really interesting ones with some really interesting people. So I've got to say, interviewing is my favourite part of the whole thing. Because, like I say, you meet so many interesting people. You know, you get to form those friendships as well if the interview goes really, really well. And you just meeting people and interacting with them. It's just nice. It's lovely, and it brings the such big community, and brings everyone together, and it's really nice. And when I say like a few, like I said, I've formed a few friendships with a few bands from, doing an interview with them. So these include Wolf. They're a Swedish heavy metal band from Sweden. They were like one of my first assigned interviews for one of the magazines I've written for previously, Loud Stuff. Basically, they were really, both Simon and Nicholas, they were both really friendly, they were really chatty, and, they were really funny guys, and got to meet the whole rest of the band and just stayed in touch with them and been able to try and get to see them since. So, yeah, if you love your old school heavy metal and, check Wolf out. The information's below in the video. Eden's Curse. They were my first assigned interview for Metal Temple, at that Underworld in that really cosy dressing room. One of the most professional bands I've ever had the pleasure of dealing with. Lovely guys, and a year on, still talking to them, contacting them, and hung out with them in Sweden. So yeah, again, Eden's Curse. Their information's below the video. Check them out. Really awesome band if you like your melodic metal. Or actually, if you just want to check out a band, Eden's Curse, definitely. And Massive, a hard rock band from Australia. I interviewed two of the members whilst they were on tour with The Treatment in the UK, and they, again, getting to talk to them after the gig and getting to sort of just chat to them generally, and it was just really nice. I still talk to particularly Brad. Hi Brad. So yeah, interviews can form really awesome friendships. So I've been offered an interview either by email or my website manager goes, hey, I have an interview. Hey, I'd like, if you're available, do you want to do this interview? That's how I got to interview Herman Lee from Dragon Force, which was awesome. So anyway, first thing you go about doing your interviews, which I'm sure most music journalists will know, research. Research, 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 research. I understand I've sounded like a broken record here, but research is so important when you're doing an interview. I cannot stress that enough. Research is so important. Even if you think you know the band like the back of your hand, research is so important, because there could be something, you didn't know about them. And yeah, basically, they're taking some of their time out of their day, and you're taking some of your time out your day to talk, to have this conversation or to have this chat about their career. So you want to make a good first impression on them. I did an interview before. I was skimpy on the research, and it cost me, and the interview just crashed and burned. So basically, research is so important. And how I do my research, sometimes reading the press release isn't enough. I mean, it gives you the information you need for why they're doing the interview, because there's always a reason, which I'll go to later. Reading the press release is not enough sometimes, particularly if it's a band that have been around for decades. I like to listen to like their discography, like most of their discography, you know, like from their first album to like their latest one, so you can kind of, so that way I can kind of see if their sound's changed or developed. Yeah. So yeah, that's another, they say, yeah, read the press release. Yeah, listen to their albums back to back, you know, for like a few days, just so you can get, particularly if it's a band you've never heard of before, and a band you know that have been around for decades, so make sure you know what they sound like, you know what to look for when you hear one of their songs, and particularly on their, if they've, particularly if the interview's about releasing a new album, then you can ask them about, oh, well, I heard this in the previous album and this in the other album, and blah, 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 blah. Like, look up, like, just read everywhere, like, either on, particularly if it's a genre of music you've never, you're clueless about, like, for example, this year I interviewed a thrash metal band called Hyrax. I was completely clueless about thrash metal. I'm still a bit sort of about thrash metal. I don't know anything about. Before I went to interview them, I didn't know anything about it. So, luckily, I spoke to one of my friends, a fellow journalist, Simon. Hi, Simon. Because I know he's a thrash genius. He's a genius when it comes to thrash metal, and I messaged him quickly and go, help. I'm interviewing a thrash metal band. I know you're a thrash expert. Can you help me? And then he suggested things I asked him, you know, suggested things about the thrash metal scene, and that worked, and his advice worked. So yeah, that's another thing. Do listen to fellow. That's another thing, right? Particularly if it's a genre of music you're completely clueless about, ask your peers, ask your friends who you know. I know they really like it. I know they know a lot about it. Ask your friends. Ask your peers. So my top tips for research are: read the press release, listen to the discography, ask your peers, and don't rely heavily on Facebook and Google. You're doing your research, and now you think of your questions or what you want to talk about. One thing I found when doing your research and doing interviews is the ability to think outside the box is important, because then it gives you so many options and possibilities. For example, Eden's Curse. Because basically, I was doing some research because I was thinking, okay, I'm interviewing these guys in a few days' time. What can I ask them? So one of the facts I found in their like website was that they were a multinational band. You know, they have members from Scotland. One of them actually lives in Southampton near me. Germany, Serbia. You know, they're all from different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and so I wanted to find, you know, and that fact interested me right there. Thinking, oh, okay. So then I started springing questions like, so how do you get together for rehearsal? Like, how do you do rehearsals? How do you, write songs together? That gets you talking about how technology helps you with that, like Skype, Facebook, everything. And so, yeah, we spent quite a while talking about that. So that was, that's an interview topic right there. Like sort of like, how do you get together for rehearsals and things like that? It's cool. Yeah, like I say, Eden's Curse. Information about them, like links and stuff below the video. So yeah, the ability to think outside the box is really important when you can turn any fact you find and think, oh, how can I expand that? How can I include that in an interview? Because some of a lot of these bands are really interesting, really intelligent people, and you think, oh wow, maybe I could ask them about that. And then, like a recent interview I did with David DeFay from Virgin Steel, I found a YouTube video of him, and he took part in a cooking program, and And I asked him about that and thinking, you know, would he go do that if he ever retired? And then we talked about that for ages, and you know, so being able to think outside the box, that's a really key ability, because these bands, they've come forward for interviews for a reason. Like, they want to do these interviews to promote something. Either it'll be it could be a new album, they could be on tour, they could have something interesting, like, you know, a reimagining of an album like Monster Magnet. You know, so they come forward to you for a reason. So you think, right, there's an interview topic right there, and then you can sort of think, like, you can start brainstorming questions like, if it's a new album, like, oh, what was the production like, or like how different, particularly if you're not able to hear it before you do the interview. Is it different from your previous material? Is it similar to your previous material? So being able to think outside the box is a good thing. And when listing questions, I don't actually script questions anymore. I had a tip from my good friend Jodie from Voice FM. Again, information below the video. She said to me, well, instead of scripting questions, I write down what I want to talk about, and the questions flow naturally from that. My first interview I did that with was with a band called Cage the Gods, and I found that worked, and that's how I've done all my interviews since. And just write down what I want to talk about rather than actually script questions, because then the questions flow naturally from your bullet points you've got down. And it also, I think that way also, it encourages you to kind of listen to what the band say when you're doing the interview, which I will touch upon later. So you've done your research, you've prepared your questions, now to actually go to the interview or call whoever you're doing the interview with. For emailers, just make sure you have the right email address and you've presented your questions in a professional manner. But then, like, when you're doing phoners or Skype, make sure you have the correct phone number, make sure you have the correct Skype address, make sure you've given them your correct Skype address and your correct phone number. Particularly Skype and phone, because if you're phoning or Skyping another country where they're going to be in a different time zone, like the States, for example, they're like 5 hours behind you. So make sure you have the correct time UK or the correct time zone wherever you are. Just work out what time it will be and make sure you've got it spot on, even if you have to check it like 3 times, just make sure you get it right. But yeah, make sure you get the time zone right, and particularly if you're calling on your phone, make sure you've got the country code right as well, and make sure you sort of research how you dial the number to the US or to wherever you're phoning to. But yeah, I understand, and if you are calling, call from the landline rather than your mobile, because I think it costs less. If you're doing an interview face to face, like actually going to a venue or going somewhere to interview the band, make sure, particularly if it's for a live show, you're doing it before a live show, make sure you have like the emails printed out, so just for like backup, just in case there's any problems. Make sure you have all your phone numbers stored on your phone, like the tour managers or the PR agents, or sometimes a band member. You know, you might need to call the band member to say, yep, I'm here, you're ready to do the interview. So make sure you have everything you need, and everything you need to record it, like your dictaphone, that's how I record my interviews, dictaphone. And I'm hoping to start video interviews soon. But the thing is, I think particularly with interviews, if you are going to do them, I'd normally email the PR agent first to see if it's okay to do so. So when you're actually doing the interview, first of all, I know it's common sense, but be friendly, smile, and just be, you know, flexible as well, because when you're talking to them and you've got your questions, you know, I know it's so tempting to try and stick rigidly to what you want to ask them, but, and particularly maybe also ask them about what they've said, because that way they know you're listening to them and that way they'll see you're interested. So yeah, listen to them, and like, and that sort of gets the conversation flowing, because I think the best interviews turn out to be like chats, you know, just normal like relaxed chats, and then, you know, that way you're relaxed, they're relaxed. So I think, you know, there is some nerves in the air at first. And so when you end the interview, make sure you thank them for their time, and like either wish them good luck for their album or wish them good luck on their show or whatever they're doing. Yeah, but yeah, make sure that you thank them for your time, for their time. But anyway, that's my little section on interviews. To summarise, so do your research, which is important. Make sure you have everything, like come up with your questions or write what you want to talk about. Make sure you're prepared, like for if you're doing the recording on the dictaphone, be sure you have spare batteries. I've learnt that. Yeah, I learnt that. That's happened to me before. I thought I had batteries in the dictaphone, but they were really like, look, they just bust and I didn't have any spare, so I couldn't do the interview. Yeah, that's happened to me before. And yeah, just be friendly, just be polite, and just, you know, be good at communicating where you are and where you're at. Now here's a little thing I want, you know, particularly for bands I've interviewed. Here's your chance. You can interview me if you like. Well, not really interview, but ask me questions. I'm starting I thought I'd do this little thing where basically you guys, you guys watching or wherever, you get to send your questions in either on my journal page on my Facebook, which I will put on my on the box down below the video, and I'm flapping my hands for no reason at all. I'll stop. Or send me an email, which will be in the box below, and or if you're friends with me on Facebook message me or text me, whatever. Yeah, basically send your questions in and I'll try over the next videos or whatever to answer them. If I'm not, I mean, they can be obscure or as simple as you like, but if there's a question I'm really not comfortable answering on YouTube, please, I will tell you, and I will, please respect that. Please respect that. If I'm not comfortable answering a question, I won't. So keep them clean. But anyway, that's me for this week. It's nice to speak to you all, and have a lovely day, have a lovely bank holiday for those in the UK and those who don't have to work this bank holiday. And I understand there are people who do have to work bank holiday, and I salute you to that. So, see you later.